Hello, I'm Rob from the Malt Miller, and today we're brewing a Vienna Lager. Now we're doing that for a couple of reasons. A, so you can drink it at BrewCon, and secondly, it's because we're loving the lager styles, in fact all of the lager styles, and we've seen a huge increase in interest from customers who want to brew fresh, crispy lagers and have them on tap at home. So this is the first in the series of Brew With Us videos. Now this recipe kit for this Vienna Lager is going to be available to buy on the website in various different recipe sizes, so you can brew it at home. You can then share your thoughts with us on social media and in the comments below. So what we're aiming for with this Vienna Lager is a light body, but it wants a crispy, dry finish. Now we're going to achieve that by using Vienna malts and lager malts. These are both from Simpson's malts, and we're going to be using the Lutra strain of Kviek from Omega yeasts. Now the reason that we're using this Kviek strain is because we're cheating. We haven't got the time to be able to get this beer nailed using a conventional yeast. Now Lutra is a fantastic clean strain. We can ferment really high at say 32 degrees and we'll get it nailed. So since we're using a Kviek yeast strain, it also means we need to use yeast nutrient, and we need to use double the amount stated on the packet. So today we're using the Fan Max yeast nutrient from White Labs, and we're using 32 grams. So if you'd like to know a little bit more about the Vienna Lager style, I can recommend a couple of books. These will be linked in the comments below. Now we can brew a Vienna Lager using many different malts. Now traditionally we would be using malts from one of our European malt suppliers. However, for this brew, we want to try a Vienna Lager using malts grown in the UK. And they're going to be malts that are provided by Simpson's malts, and that's their Vienna malt and their lager malt. We're brewing a 50-litre batch of Vienna Lager today, and this includes 8.3 kilos of Simpson's Vienna, 3.5 kilos of Simpson's lager malt. Now the yeast that we're using is the Lutra from Omega yeast, and we're using the wet version, but now obviously there is available the dried version of that same yeast as well. The hops we're using in this recipe are Saaz Lupomax. Now these are far stronger than the standard T90 version of the Saaz hops, and we are using 50 grams and we're boiling them for 60 minutes, and then we're doing a flame out hop stand addition of 45 grams. So today we're brewing on the G70 and we're milling our malts directly into the vessel. Let's crack on. Okay, so we've mashed in, and you might actually have noticed that we milled the grain directly into the mash basket of the G70 before it was actually in the mash liquor. Now that's come from when I used to brew on a 3-vessel system. It's called underletting. I actually find it, certainly on a 3-vessel system, a much easier way to dough in. This is the first time I've done it on an all-in-one system, and actually it was very successful. We won't actually know until the end if it's had any difference on efficiency, but certainly for doughing in it was much easier. So with the Vienna Lager style, it's quite important that you finishes dry. We want a dry beer, so the idea is that we mash at a low temperature. So I was really going to be aiming for about 63 degrees centigrade for a mash temperature. However, we're using the Lutra yeast. Now the Lutra has really high attenuation, so we don't want it to go too low, so we've decided to mash at 65, and the attenuation of the Lutra is about 78. We're aiming for a beer to finish at about 10-10. Okay, so we've done our mash, we've carried out a mash out, we've pulled the malt basket and we've done our sparge, and actually now we're just about to come up to boil. Now the recipe calls for 50 grams of the SARS Lupermax hops. They've already gone in, so we're at about 96, 97 degrees. They've already gone in, and we do that as a first wort hop. That really helps to cut out any boil overs. Okay, so that's brew day done. We've done the boil, we've transferred using the really efficient chiller into the SF70, and we've got the GCA kit working on the SF70 for our temperature control, and that's going to hopefully, we try to do experimentation on every time we brew, so this is an experiment with this. Hopefully this is going to keep this at 32 degrees in our ambient warehouse, so that's going to be quite a tough test for that new bit of kit. So just before we added the yeast into the fermenter, we added some NBS Clarity. Now what that does is gives us the best opportunity for pouring a really clear beer at really low lager temperatures, lager serving temperatures, but it also makes the beer accessible to the gluten-free members of staff that we have here at the Malt Miller. Okay, so every time we brew here at the Malt Miller, we like to do some sort of experimentation, so it might be using a new bit of kit or a new method. Well, you remember when we doughed in, we used the underletting method. Now, undoubtedly, that was much easier to dough in, although on the flip side, we did have a little more grain within the wort when it was boiling. Okay, so just to wrap up this brew day, let's have a look at the numbers. So actually, we've ended up with 50 litres into the fermenter, which is exactly what we were aiming for, but we've overshot our mash efficiency and our brew house efficiency by a considerable margin. So we've actually run the numbers and we've got a brew house efficiency of 81%, which is really quite high. So we've got 50 litres in here at 1061, and really what we were aiming for was 1049. So we're going to have to back liquor by 12 litres. So 12 litres of bottled water will be going into the fermenter, so that we end up with a beer around about the 5% mark, which is what we're shooting for. So when we look at brew house efficiency, what we're really after are consistent results. Now that doesn't matter whether you're getting 65%, 75% or even 85%. What you want to know is what you're going to end up with at the end of the brew. Now we've way overshot today, and I think that's because we're using a few different methods to produce the wort. Thanks for watching part 1 of this video. Please join us in part 2, where we're going to try this beer that we've just made alongside one of the commercial beers that we sell from Utopian. Please remember to like, subscribe and hit the bell for notifications. And also, you can follow us on Instagram, Twitter and Facebook.